Throughout the Dragon Ball story, we've seen a number of epic and incredible fights. Goku vs. Piccolo, Goku vs. Frieza, Gohan vs. Cell, and Gogeta vs. Broly are only a small selection of the great fights from this iconic franchise. However, there is one incredible fight that all of us missed. This fight was never shown in the anime or manga, and took place not in the main timeline, but rather in the Future Trunks timeline. That fight is Future Goku vs. King Cold and Frieza. But how exactly did this fight go down? Well, in this video, I'm going to discuss that. Hey guys, I just wanted to give a shout out to World King Kanji for creating this awesome thumbnail of Future Goku vs. Mecha Frieza and King Cold. You can check out a link to his channel down below in the description. Now, in the beginning of the Android saga of Dragon Ball Z, we discovered a shocking fact. That Frieza had survived his battle against Goku on Namek, and had been rebuilt by his father King Cold. Even worse is that Frieza set course for Earth, and Goku had yet to return to the planet as he was training on Yardrat. However, Goku sensed that Frieza was on his way to Earth, and quickly jumped in his space pod before trying to get back in time. Unfortunately, Frieza's ship was much faster and made it there first. Frieza and his father touched down on the planet with a number of his soldiers. Only the Z fighters stood in his way as he ordered his men to wipe out the people of the Earth. However, they were completely outmatched by Mecha Frieza and King Cold's incredible power. With it all seemingly hopeless, a powerful warrior made his sudden appearance on the battlefield, wiping out Frieza's soldiers in an instant. This warrior was Goku. These are the events that likely transpired in the original timeline of Dragon Ball Z. Despite being 3 hours away in space, Goku sensed Frieza's presence on the planet and showed up just in time to save the day. The way he did this was through the use of his newly acquired technique, the Shunkan Ito, or instant transmission. The ability of instant teleportation, which can take Goku across the universe and even to other dimensions. The reason why we know that this would happen is because Goku said as much to Future Trunks after he dispatched the Cold family in the main timeline. Now, it's possible that the Z fighters could have handled the Frieza Force soldiers on their own, which would be a nice way to work them into the action. However, at the time, they were still far removed from where Frieza had landed, and were attempting to suppress their power to avoid detection and a direct fight. So I think it's a likelihood that Goku would have shown up and dealt with Frieza's men, realizing that they were a threat and needed to be destroyed. This is when the real battle would begin, as Goku would go head-to-head with the evil tyrants of the universe. But how would this battle unfold, and would Goku do well against the two, just as Trunks did? Well, as for this part, I believe it would unfold quite differently than the fight with Trunks. This comes down to a number of reasons. Firstly, Goku is a different kind of fighter. Unlike Trunks, Goku wouldn't have simply wiped them out when they weren't fully on guard. He's a fighter with honor, so he would have wanted to fight them head on. As a result, he would give them an equal playing field. This is where the next reason would come into play, which is that King Cold and Frieza came with a game plan in mind. As we saw when they touched down on the planet, Frieza and his father were speaking about what they were going to do. Cold said that he didn't care about the Earthlings, but wanted to stamp out the Super Saiyan no matter what, as their clan must always be the strongest in the cosmos. Frieza replied, "With the two of us together, it will be no trouble. I could probably do it myself, since I have grown even more powerful." Now, neither of them knew exactly how strong Goku was at this time. However, this does inform us of their game plan, which is that the two of them would fight together against him. Now, this is in stark contrast to what we saw unfold in the main timeline, where they fought Trunks one by one. Because Trunks was more powerful than either of them individually, this put them at a significant disadvantage, especially when they had no idea that he was a Super Saiyan until right before the fight began. Many fans have argued over the years that Frieza wasn't using 100% of his power when he fought against Trunks. Considering that he didn't attempt to use any of his real signature moves and simply used a normal ki blast, I'm inclined to agree. Furthermore, Frieza didn't bulk up his remaining body parts like he did on Namek, nor did he power up for a considerable length of time. King Cold didn't do this either. Instead, when it came time to fight, he mistakenly believed that Trunks was able to win because of his sword, so he attempted to use it against Trunks, which resulted in his death. Smart move. However, with Frieza knowing who Goku is, I think he would probably go all out from the start, with him likely charging into the fight first because of his mental state after his defeat, where he was suffering clear symptoms of PTSD, as shown by what happened when Trunks transformed. This is where Goku's power at the time comes in. Now, there's been some speculation over the years about exactly how strong Goku was at this point. He had spent around a year training on the planet Yardrat after becoming a Super Saiyan. This training was split between him mastering the ability to transform at will and learning his instant transmission technique from the Yardratian people. Also, something about spirit energy according to the Dragon Ball Super manga, but I'll get into that at some point in a future video. However, it seems clear to me that Goku also became physically stronger after his fight against Frieza. He demonstrated this during his sparring match against Future Trunks. After defeating the two villains in the main timeline, Future Trunks met with Goku, and the two of them transformed into a Super Saiyan for a test of strength. At first, Trunks unsheathed his sword and faked an attack against Goku, who was able to see through Trunks' ruse, not taking any measures to protect himself. This is when Trunks said he wouldn't be holding back anymore, and Goku followed Trunks' lead, infusing his energy into his index finger just as Trunks did with his sword, and he managed to parry all of Trunks' attacks with ease. At this point, Trunks complimented him, saying that he not only lived up to his reputation, but exceeded it. Now remember, Trunks was able to kill Frieza with his sword, cutting through his flesh and whatever space-age material his robotic components were comprised of. This is a Frieza who is confirmed to be stronger than he was on Namek, and Trunks killed him with ease. Now we don't exactly know how much stronger he was here, however it must have been by a decent amount. After all, if his power went from 120 million to 121, I doubt he would have mentioned it. And again, Frieza believed he could potentially win on his own. Of course, Frieza is arrogant, so it's within his nature to think that he could win. But this could also be an indication from Toriyama that Mecha Frieza surpassed Goku's power level on Namek, which is entirely possible. If Dr. Gero could make androids stronger than Frieza, then it's reasonable that Frieza's best soldiers would be able to make him at least an extra 30% stronger. So clearly, Trunks must have been stronger than Goku was on Namek, since that version of Goku couldn't have killed Frieza so easily, especially not a stronger version of him. Now after their clash, Goku says that Trunks wasn't trying as hard as he was when he killed Frieza, so Trunks was suppressed to some degree. However, I would still give the edge to Goku since he didn't exactly go all out either. Regardless, this means that Goku would have performed even better against Frieza in combat. So Goku would have been able to easily defeat Frieza even if he went full power. Now the next question is, would King Cold make any difference in the fight? Well, we know that Cold is powerful based on a number of statements in the anime and manga. Some of these statements also imply that Cold was more powerful than Frieza. For example, a statement that Tien makes in Dragon Ball Z Kai. Where Cold ranks is somewhat debatable considering that Frieza wasn't fully powered up at the time. But for the purposes of this video, let's just say that he's stronger for now. Even with this in mind, I don't think it's very likely that the power difference was considerable. This is for a number of reasons. The first reason is the most obvious, which is that Goku won the fight. It's not exactly like Goku was 10 times stronger than he was on Namek at this point. Even a few times is pushing it, so Cold's power couldn't have been many times Frieza's. And considering he lost, it must not have been comparable to Goku's either. Based upon how Trunks easily caught his swing with the sword, we can pretty much confirm this. So at the most, I'd say that he's 20 to 50% stronger than his son. This means that he would be at a significant disadvantage against Goku. And despite the two of them teaming together, it likely wouldn't have helped matters. At this point in Dragon Ball Z, power was pretty much everything. Less powerful opponents couldn't simply overcome a huge strength disparity through teamwork alone. As a result, Goku would take the father and son team on at the same time and dominate them in an awesome display of strength. Naturally, with the two of them firing giant blasts at him while he tanks them with little to no damage. I like to imagine that the two of them spent some time on their voyage to Earth coming up with combination moves. So it'd be pretty awesome to see each of them charging up a giant death ball and then combining them into one the size of the moon and throwing it at Goku. But he would probably pick that thing up just like Trunks did and chuck it right back at them. At this point, I think that Goku would finally see the error of his ways in the decision that he made to spare Frieza and Namek, considering that Frieza ignored his advice twice and tried to kill him and then his entire world. Goku would no doubt realize that the two of them could not be redeemed, and so he would put an end to them, perhaps even using their own technique against them, like how he defeated Cooler, or maybe by beating them down and destroying them with his Kamehameha. Either way, I don't see much chance of them surviving in this version of the story. But then again, there is still one chance left for them, which revolves around a question that many fans have wondered ever since Cold's death. That question is, can King Cold transform? Now, I've discussed this in a number of previous videos, but honestly, based upon the evidence, I think he should be able to. After all, Frieza transforms, Frost transforms, and even Cold's non-canon son Cooler transforms. So if pretty much every other mainstream member of his species transforms, then it makes sense that he could as well. And knowing Goku, he seems like the one person who would allow this to happen. This was demonstrated when he allowed Frieza to reach his 100% power on Namek, because he wanted to beat him at his best. So wouldn't Goku also want to see King Cold at his full power? It seems likely. And so Goku would behold a sight which no fan of the Dragon Ball franchise has gotten to see, at least outside of fanfiction, as King Cold transformed and reached his full power. But even then, his full power wasn't enough to defeat Goku. Despite how powerful Frieza became as he went from his most constrained form to his full power on Namek, it's highly unlikely that Cold would get that much more powerful. Because again, we know that Goku won this fight. And as much as I like this idea of this uber powerful final form King Cold, who can somehow fight Cell and Majin Buu, it's simply not the reality. And whatever increase there was must have been minor. King Cold is older than Frieza, so it's possible that he has greater control of his power in his lower forms. As a result, he wouldn't need to suppress it anywhere near to the same degree as Frieza. So all of that fits in with the outcome. As such, King Cold would transform, arrogantly believe that he could win, forget about sensing energy if he even had that ability, and then proceed to get owned by Goku, who would stomp a mud hole in him like Stone Cold Steve Austin, before flipping him off, giving him the Stone Cold Stunner, and then totally vaporizing him. And with that, the threat of Frieza and his father would come to an end, just as it did when Trunks fought them in the main timeline. And that is how Goku won the greatest unseen fight in Dragon Ball history. Let me know your own thoughts down below in the comments. How do you think the fight would have gone down? Also, leave a like and help share this video out so we can continue to grow and bring you even more content like this in the future. Thanks for watching, and make sure to stick around, because there's a lot more to come in the future.
Yeah, and you better subscribe.